board meeting agenda will be available for review on the school district's website at www.chiheights.org underneath Board of Education meetings. Please silence your phones during the meeting. Now, if you would rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. On to agenda item number 2. I'd like to seek a motion for the approval of the agenda as presented. Moved by Ms. Schukert, second by Mr. Shahaki. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, please put it to a vote, Mr. Muccio.
Mrs. Schukert. Aye. Mr. Suchaki. Aye. Mrs. Etter.
Aye.
Mr. Naaman.
Aye.
Mr. Dobbins.
Aye.
5, 4, none against. The motion is approved. Going on to item number 3, which is my favorite part of the monthly meetings, is the recognitions. Mr. Evans, I will turn it over to you.
And I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Danatovich to do the high school and middle school students of the month.
All right. This is one of my favorite things. Not only do I get to hear and see about the wonderful things that our students are doing, I get to recognize some of the greatness that takes place in our buildings on a daily basis. And one of the things that, a common theme that runs through this month is kindness and politeness, and, something that we really want to focus on, but it really shines with the students that we're going to recognize today, that it's a resounding theme that these students are kind, polite, in addition to just being awesome human beings. So I'm going to start off first. So I'll call the student up, so come on up, and then I'll talk a little bit about them, what their teacher said, some of the things that I might know about them, and then, we'll recognize them there. So let's have Adam Grebe come on up, 6th grade student of the month. So teacher said thoughtful, respectful, kind-hearted, awesome, loving, the kind of things that you want to have in our students. Adam loves to ride bikes, as with most kids loves to do, but one of the things about him is he absolutely loves astronomy, loves planets, and I asked him, I said, do you want to be an astronaut? He said, no, and I'm like, oh, okay, but he wants to run the mission control of NASA, so super excited for that. He's really inquisitive in school. Teachers absolutely love him. Great friend to everybody. 6th grade student of the month. Let's give a round of applause for Adam. Thank you. Quick lesson, real quick, Adam. All right. 7th grade student of the month. Aiden Flynn, 7th grade. Aiden. Aiden is diligent, friendly, persistent, kind, polite, hard worker. Teachers love him. I was in the classroom when he was trying to give a definition that nobody else really understood, and I'm like, that really makes sense. So he adds and contributes to class. Favorite subject is math. Loves playing video games, and when I asked him which one, he says NBA 2K. But then he's like, well, also Call of Duty. That's like the base for all the gamers. Mr. J's not a gamer, so I did not know that. So now if I ever decide to become a gamer, I'll know to jump in on the Call of Duty thing. Loves lifting weights, loves playing sports, plays football, basketball, does awesome things. Congratulations on being 7th grade student of the month, Aiden. Right. 8th grade student of the month, we have Khalid Boyd. Now, I'm giving a plug here too. So starting at 7 o'clock on Friday, you're going to see the play of Aladdin. So as an 8th grader, She was part of the play. She did a wonderful things. She said she didn't like to dance, or she wasn't a good dancer, but she really rocked it when she was out there. Great performance. If that's an 8th grader participating in our drama, I can't wait to see what the next 4 years is going to be like, because we got a lot of talent coming up. Teacher says that her work ethic, her dedication, she brings an energy to the room. And being a classroom teacher, we really appreciate that person that brightens up the smiles of others, reaches out and helps others, is a great friend to all, has respect amongst her peers, and she has the brightest of futures ahead of her. The 8th grade team recognized you as being this month's Student of the Month. Congratulations. All right. Moving on to the high school, our 9th grade, Ava Gallick. So high school is nominated by a specific teacher. So Ava was recognized by Mrs. Krofchek. Mrs. Krofchek said she's an awesome student, and she is so positive. Everything she does is positive. She says she just really brings that energy to class, but also plays basketball, soccer, loves Grey's Anatomy, spent a couple months here catching up on all 17 seasons. She told me to get ready for the premiere that happened just a few days ago. Favorite math class is Mr. Martin, loves solving problems, loves crunching numbers, and she wants to start her own business. She doesn't want to work for anybody. She wants to work for herself and do great things, and having short conversations and knowing her for a short period of time, I think she's going to reach that goal and do wonderful things. So congratulations on being the 9th grade Student of the Month. All right. 10th grade, Eli Walton. Eli, I'm going to share this little bit story right now. So obviously with COVID going on, the concern is being called down to the principal's office for fear that you're going to be quarantined. Eli had a terrified look on his face when he came into my office, and I didn't recognize that at the time he didn't realize that he was getting Student of the Month, and he thought that either A, he was in trouble, which he wouldn't be because he's an awesome kid, or B, he was going to be sent home because he was quarantined. And I saw the text messages dinging on his phone, and I said, whoever you were texting, go ahead and let him know that you're all good so we don't have to worry about that throughout here. Mrs. Bennett recognized him and nominated him, says that he's dedicated, hardworking, always follows through, always willing there to help out. Loves playing basketball, big-time basketball player, but also loves science, and Mrs. Wojtek. And we had a conversation, and he talked about he wants to pursue something in the science field, something potentially in the sports medicine field, and maybe take advantage of CVCC next year, how they have the sports medicine field, which then could lead to an athletic trainer, a physical trainer, some sort of something in that field because he loves science and he loves sports. Based off of everything that his coaches and his teachers say about him, we got a wonderful one here, and we're very lucky. Congratulations being the 10th grade Student of the Month. All right, 11th grade, Dominic Belko. I should have learned from my mistakes because Dominic was also very nervous when he got called down to the office. So we started having Mrs. Connors say, everything's good, no worries, no problems, just come on down. Mr. J wants to talk to you about something good moving forward. So year-round basketball player, plays on different teams, travel teams, involved in all of these things, has a love for basketball, but 4 AP classes and 1 college-level math CCP class. So talking about getting it done on the court as an athlete, student athlete, but also getting it done in the classroom, taking care of it. Favorite class is AP Bio, and that's going to help out because he wants to be a doctor when he grows up. So having that experience is going to be grateful for him. He also talked about 2 important figures in his family, in his life. His dad. His dad's very supportive for him and everything that he does, and for his grandfather for the wisdom that teaches him. So we got a great young man here that's going to do wonderful things in the future. So I'd like to recognize Dominic Belko as this month's 11th grade student of the month. All right. We have a couple other, I don't see them here, but did I miss anybody? There were some people from last month. Am I missing anybody? All right, because all the other ones, they'll be recognizing them at future meetings if they couldn't be here for other activities. So we'll make sure that we go from there. So that's it from the high school, middle school. Let's give those students a round of applause one more time.
Thank you, Mr. J. And now it's Mrs. Houchin's turn, but boy, is that fun seeing all of the kids getting recognized. I had so many of you, so it's really cool to see you all growing up, but you're way taller than me now. I have the pleasure of introducing our two students of the month for the elementary school, and we're going to start with third grader Kellen Dabrowski. Come on up, Kellen. All right, Kellen, turn around so everyone can see you. Turn to the board so they can see you. There you go. All right, Kellen lives in Valley View with Mom Tracy, Dad Rob, and brothers Nick and Vincent, right? Nick, just Nick. I don't know why I have Vincent in here. Nick, who's in 8th grade. And I asked him what his favorite subject was, and he said math. And I asked him why, and he said, I'm really good at it. So I would like what I'm really good at too. His favorite essential class is guidance, and I asked him why, and he said, I like everything about it, and I barely ever get to go there. So he really likes guidance class. Mrs. Satterley would be so excited to hear that. When he's home, he likes to play football outside with his friends, play basketball, and play video games. Although that was the last thing he said. I had to ask him, what would you do if you couldn't go outside and play? And he said, play video games. And when he grows up, what do you want to be? He said, I don't know yet. And I said, you don't have to know. You're in 3rd grade, right? But when I pushed him a little bit, he said, maybe a doctor. And I think that's a really good goal. To his parents, he wanted to say thank you for loving me. And he was nominated by Guidance, Library, Technology, and Science team of Mrs. Satterley, Mrs. Bergen, Mr. Miller, and Mrs. Curry. They said, Kellen tackles new challenges seriously, eagerly, and with a positive attitude. He shows perseverance in all that he does. This has been especially evident this year as he's balanced hybrid learning. He has a kind, caring, and friendly attitude that makes him a friend to all. Kellen consistently makes good choices in all parts of the school day. It has been a pleasure having the opportunity to get to know and work with such a fantastic person, classmate, and student. Way to represent CHES Kellen. Kellen, we're going to get a picture over here. Notice I have this big smile. No one could see the smile, right? Like, and I'm like, oh yeah, you see their eyes. And it's so hard not to like hug them, you know? Like it's really. All right, next we have 5th grader Laurel Gosnell. Laurel? Want to turn around so everybody could see you? All right, this is Laurel. Laurel is brand new to our district this year as a 5th grader. And I told her this was a huge, huge accomplishment to be selected as a student of the month. As a new student that no one knew before, and then we have been in remote and hybrid. So I told her she must have really stood out to her teachers. We are so happy to have her at our school this year. And I did explain to her that we only select 2 students a month for about 8 months of the year. So that's really only about 16 kids all year that get this honor. So it's a huge honor. She lives in Seven Hills with Mom, Gina, Dad, Jeff. She's an only child, but she does have 2 cats, Zuzu and Biagio. Is that right? Biagio, okay. And Art is her favorite subject. She loves free expression and creating things, and her favorite part of art is collage. And technology is her favorite special because she loves making things. And I remember this when I interviewed Laurel to come to our school, that she's a very artsy person. She loves doing anything creative. So when I asked her what she likes to do outside of school, she said art, playing the piano, riding her bike, and she told me that she's doing a show coming up here for piano that is all Beatles. So I thought that was pretty cool. When she grows up, she wants to be an interior and exterior designer because she loves creating and color tones. She said she did get to help decorate her bedroom a little bit, so she has an aqua Paris theme, and I told her I'd probably hire her in the future. For her parents, she said, "Thank you for pushing me to be my best self." And she was nominated by the same team of Mrs. Satterley, Mrs. Bergen, Mr. Miller, and Mrs. Curry, and they said, "Laurel is an extremely caring person and has been a great addition to the CHES family. She is always willing to help anyone with anything. She works very hard on her schoolwork and is an enthusiastic learner. She has the ability to brighten up any classroom she enters, either virtually or in person. She is polite to adults and peers in and out of the classroom, consistently makes good choices in all parts of the school day, and we can always count on Laurel to be caring, honest, engaged, and safe." Congratulations, Laurel.
We're fighting over who gets to do this next presentation. And actually, I think Mr. Young wants to do it because he's the former cross-country coach. He's a former track coach as well. I've got a special presentation as well. And Darian, come on down. Darian Tillett. If you read and follow Tom Talks, you'll see that the last month has been the Darian Tillett Show, and rightfully so. And Mom, I'm sorry if I spelled his name incorrectly a couple of times. One L, two L's, three T's. No, I apologize for that. And this has been quite the year for Darian. And the first time I got to see Darian run cross country for us this year was at the George Gross Invitational. And that was a very special meet because that was our first meet since we lost Mr. Gross. And he was very close with Darian. And when Darian came across the finish line, he said, "That one's for Coach Gross." And he went out faster than I've ever seen a cross-country runner go, too fast. In my estimation, as a former track coach, I always worry and he kept that pace, and no one got close to him the entire race. And Darian carried that through the districts, regionals, and he got done in the state meet. And to finish all Ohio in the state meet, you have to finish in the top 20. Now, if you've ever seen a state cross-country meet, it's really a sight to see because not only do you have 200 and some individual runners, you've got probably 16 teams that all have 8 runners to a team, and there's this big mass of humanity that just kind of takes off from the start line. They ran it at Fortress Obetz this year, and Mr. Young probably tells the story best, but he saw Darian coming around, and he saw what his time was, and he was counting numbers. Mr. Young knew exactly where he was, knew that he had to be in the top 20, and he told Coach Robinson, "You got to go out, you got to get him to kick it into gear. You got to tell him to push it. He's right on the edge. He's right on the edge." And Darian did. And Darian came across the finish line in 18th place, making him all Ohio. And even more remarkably, took 40 seconds off his best time in a 3+ mile race. And that's just absolutely incredible. Finished, I think, less than 10 seconds off the school record. 3 seconds off the school record. Thank you. And I really would have loved it had he broken the school record. 28. Okay, there we go. One more shot at it. But, his fire, sometimes people think of distance running as one of those things that you kind of have solitude and you just kind of go out and do. Darian attacks when he runs, and he's fun. I'm a competitor, and I love watching Darian run. And Darian, it's my pleasure to recognize you. And Darian, I got a certificate in here for you that I'm going to give you, but we're going to trade it out because some of the board members aren't here. We're going to get them all to sign to make sure you have one to sign. So I want to congratulate Darian Tillett, 18th place, All Ohio, and his picture will go up in the All Ohio board down in the cafeteria for a long, long time to come. So congratulations, Darian. We've got another presentation. Monthly, we have our Staff Spotlight Award. And certainly with all the craziness at the start of the school year and everything that's gone on, many of our staff have stepped up. And these two gentlemen were nominated by our head of maintenance, who was the recipient last month. And I'm going to read the resolution to you because the board actually votes on this resolution, and we'll present this to you, to those two members. This is a resolution. Whereas the Cuyahoga Heights School District has been fortunate to have dedicated staff committed to the mission of the district, and whereas Dave Wallace, Director of IT, and Matt Hartman have worked tirelessly, swiftly, and without hesitation to abruptly shift all students and staff members to remote learning in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, and whereas Dave Wallace and Matt Hartman, in an effort to make remote learning successful, instantaneously had the wherewithal to foresee the need for staff and student training on various digital platforms and work diligently to provide such instruction, and whereas Dave Wallace and Matt Hartman immediately initiated a technological setup for 3 off-site learning centers by equipping them with multiple hotspots along with all other digital necessities, and whereas Dave Wallace and Matt Hartman continuously make a conscious effort to grow in the field of expertise and then enthusiastically share this newfound knowledge with the fellow staff members, which in turn enhances student learning, which is the ultimate goal here at Cuyahoga Heights Schools. And whereas Jim Zerbola, maintenance supervisor, has formally nominated Dave Wallace and Matt Hartman for their outstanding work ethic and this endeavor, therefore be it resolved that the Cuyahoga Heights Board of Education congratulates Dave Wallace and Matt Hartman on being the November 18th, 2020 selection to the Cuyahoga Heights Schools Staff Spotlight. And I would ask for the board to approve that resolution.
So I'll seek a motion to approve the staff spotlight agenda. Okay.
So moved.
Please call to vote.
Mr. Neiman.
Aye.
Mr. Suchaki.
Aye.
Mrs. Etter.
Yes, aye.
Mrs. Schukert.
Aye.
Mr. Dobbins.
Aye.
5-4, none against. Motion is carried.
Dave, if Matt, would you please come forward? And they'll carry the gold apple for the month, and then they will not, in turn, nominate a staff member next month. And I will tell you that their efforts are incredible. The two of them do what districts that have 10, 12, 14 IT people can't get done. And they go above and beyond. And, you know, you heard Mr. Janatovich talking about the wonderful play Aladdin. Mr. Hartman made a little bit of a right turn, came in on some Heights Wednesdays and videotaped and then put together the video that will be released on YouTube. That's just simply fantastic, so much so that we talked about yesterday that with future plays, we believe that we want to videotape them and then present them to and have the students see the premiere before we actually do the play for the public. It's just such a great event. And they've stepped up. They've found solutions. When we were faced with this problem this summer and had to shift gears, they had us ready to go technology-wise, hotspot-wise, off-site learning center-wise. And Dave was a little bit of Raider O'Reilly with me. He was about a half step ahead of me the whole way, and that's a good thing. So I can't congratulate these two enough and thank them enough for their efforts. And they've been going at it about 90 miles an hour since about August 1, and we know that they're going to continue down that path. So, gentlemen, thank you.
I'd like to offer congratulations to all the students and all the families, to Darian Tillett, and also to Mr. Wallace and Mr. Hartman. Thank you, Mr. Janatovich and Mrs. Houchin, for your presentations, and Mr. Evans as well. Okay, so that moves on to the to the fifth item of our agenda, which is the comments from the public. And it should be noted that there are no comments from the public unless I'll seek anyone that would like to speak at this point. Okay, with none heard, then please note that no comments this evening. Then I'll just turn it over to item number 6, which is the treasurer's business. So, Mr. Muccio, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Naaman. Item 6A, motion to approve the minutes of the November 4th, 2020 regular meeting as found in attachment T1. Item 7A, motion to accept the bank reconciliation, financial reports, and payments for board review as of October 31st, 2020, as prepared and certified by the treasurer as accurate, as found in attachment T2. Item 7B, motion to approve new vendors to the school district for W-9s attached, as found in attachment T3. Boy, I can really clear out a room. Just joking. Item 7C, motion to adopt the recommended 5-year forecast, which consists of 3 years of historical data, projections for the current year and 4 ensuing years, and a summary of key assumptions as found in attachment T4. Item 7D, motion to accept the funds associated with the Cuyahoga County Board of Health CCBH CARES funding for the first ring grant in the amount of $5,790.34. A new account 019-921A will be created entitled CCBH CARES funding for the first ring. Item 7E, motion to approve a modification to the permanent appropriations for fiscal year 2021 is found in attachment T5. Item 7F, motion to approve purchase orders over $5,000 as found in attachment T6. Item 7G, motion to adopt the revised miscellaneous pay rates 2020-21 schedule as found in attachment T7. Item 7H, motion to accept the attached list of donations received through November 10th, 2020 as found in attachment T8. Item 7I, motion to approve the student activity programs for the 2020-21 school year as indicated per the purpose statements on file in the treasurer's office as found in attachment T9. Item 7J, motion to approve the following then and now certificate pursuant to section 5705.41 of the Ohio Revised Code. It is hereby certified that both at the time of the making of this contract or order and at the date of the execution of this certificate, the amount required to pay this contract or order has been appropriated for the purpose of this contract or order and is in the treasury or in process of collection to the credit of the fund, free from any previous encumbrance. Item 8A, authorize the treasurer to complete and submit the client application with Delta Dental. In addition, authorize the treasurer to accept the Delta Dental proposal and initial the accepted rates. This is to switch our district-wide dental plan insurance from Medical Mutual of Ohio to Delta Dental effective January 1st, 2021. Item 8B, motion to authorize the treasurer to complete and submit the client application with VSP. This is to switch our district-wide vision plan insurance from Medical Mutual of Ohio to VSP effective January 1st, 2021. Item 8C, motion to authorize the treasurer to notify Medical Mutual of Ohio we are ending our district-wide dental and vision insurance plans effective January 1st, 2021. Our consultant at Medical Mutual of Ohio advises to have a one-day overlap of 1/1/21 to make sure benefits are not turned off prior to the new plan beginning. Item 8D, motion to approve the renewal agreement to continue our electricity service with Power for Schools at the conclusion of our current agreement ending December 31st, 2021, and authorizing the execution and delivery of a master electric energy sales agreement between the district and Power for Schools, endorsed electric supplies, NG Resources LLC. The renewal agreement runs January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2023, and reflects a price decrease to 0.03129 kmh from the current agreement of 0.03194 kilowatt. Item 8E, motion to approve and re-execute the C-Power Master Service Agreement with Ohio Schools Council. This is a new service offering from the Ohio Schools Council to member districts in partnership with COSIDE and C-Power Energy Management. The Ohio Schools Council now offers a demand response program which can provide direct payments to school districts simply by reducing energy use during a test or emergency event. The program offered by Ohio Schools Council and C-Power has no cost, no out-of-pocket penalties, no additional equipment costs, and generates energy savings checks to participants. Item 8F, motion to authorize the treasurer to file a copy of the hardship distribution interim amendment with our current 403B plan documents. And item 8G, motion to authorize the treasurer to file a copy of the hardship distribution interim amendment with our current special pay plan documents. And I ask for motions 6A through 8G for tonight.
I will move to approve the treasurer's business consent agenda motions. Can I get a second, please?
Second.
Mrs. Schukert seconds. So I was first, Mrs. Schukert second. Any discussion?
Yep, I'll just run through a couple of these items. For bank reconciliations and financial reports that we have, if we were to look at item T2D, that's just our general fund lead sheet. Just usually go through this every month just to see where we're at. And we have a printed copy as well. Again, we're right on track for where we thought we'd be for the school year. No surprises for the month of October when we closed the books. You know, everything's on target for what we estimated for where we're at currently. Moving on from that. Approve new vendors to the school district. We only have a handful. Delta Dental is one of those new vendors that we have. That approximate cost is about $125,000, and again, that's for the shift from Medical Mutual of Ohio to Delta Dental for district-wide dental insurance. C is the adoption of the recommended 5-year forecast, which is our November 2020 5-year forecast. Just to recap who was presented to, the 5-year forecast was presented to the Board of Education Finance Committee October 27th. It was presented to the Board of Education at our regular meeting November 4th, and it was presented to the BEST Committee November 12th. Again, we have a favorable forecast, in my opinion. You know, there are a lot of unknown factors with the pandemic taking place. We know it's a conservative forecast. We outline the significant items and drivers that affect each one of the rows, the lines in the 5-year forecast that we have coming. We do know that there's a deficit forecasted in the 5th year, which is always the hardest year to predict in a 5-year forecast, so it gives us a long enough runway to plan accordingly for that in future years. But for the current short term, the next year, 2 years, 3 years, we're on solid footing for where we're at, even with the pandemic taking place. Item 7D is the motion to accept a new grant from the Cuyahoga County Board of Health. I know we have Matt Young, Mr. Young here tonight. Mr. Young, do you want to talk about what we plan on doing for the Cuyahoga County Board of Health?
Yeah, absolutely. So we received thanks for on the spot there, Mr. Muccio. We received approximately a $5,800 grant from the Cuyahoga County Board of Health through the Northeast Ohio ESC. And what that allows us to do is to disseminate that to our families, our students, on free and reduced lunch. We have approximately, I think it's 188 students who qualify for that. And one of the things you can do with the money is to use it for groceries. So we decided we were going to purchase gift cards to Giant Eagle. We took that $5,790.34 and we split it 188 ways. And it's approximately going to be, about $30-ish per student that qualifies. So if you've got 3 students in that particular family, they will receive 3 of those. But we felt that was an equitable way and a very direct and purposeful way to distribute that money for our students who are on free and reduced lunch that need that extra assistance, especially here around the holidays. So that's something we're going to hopefully get to those students within the next week.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Sorry to calling you, but it gave me the chance to get a sip of water. So Item 7E. So this is a modification to our permanent appropriations so far. What we're doing is we're decreasing our general fund by approximately $200,000. That's due to match to our November 2025 year forecast, as well as the second modification is an increase of the $5,790 for that grant that we have in order to spend it. Item 7F is the approval of the purchase orders. We have 3 tonight. Just read them off. Our Huntington Bank credit card is number 1, and that's for the 188 Giant Eagle gift cards, approximately $30 per student on that. The second one is GPD. That's the band room structural repair architect services. And we had Jason Oldie from GPD at our November 4th board meeting, who outlined that the estimated cost right now to fix the band room is in the ballpark of $50,000, give or take. So by executing this purchase order, we're approving their services to the tune of $5,560 to go out and start initiating that project. So giving them the green light, which in turn we're saying, okay, we're committing ourselves to a $50,000 expenditure approximately to fix the band room. And again, GPD, Jason Oldie, they're going to work on sending out the specs to firms to start bidding on it. He'll come back, bring those to the Board of Education with their recommendation on who we should approve that purchase order for the work for. And I think it was approximately 6 weeks, give or take, for the whole timeline for the project that we have going forward. The third one was Trumbold equipment, and that's approximately $8,000, and that's to replace a sewage pump that we have here at the high school, middle school. Exit out of there. 7G is just to adopt the revised miscellaneous pay rate schedule, and the only change that we have is for lifeguards. We're adjusting their pay from $8.75 per hour to $10 per hour. And the $8.75 has been on our schedule since, I believe, 2013's year. So it's a reasonable increase that we have right now. Item 7H is to accept donations received. And I would just like to thank the listing of everyone who donated. Number 1 would be Christopher and Melinda Schuker family for their donation of $300 to the Michael Wright Scholarship Fund. Thank you, Lindy.
From all my siblings. We divided equally, so don't want to make any siblings upset. But thanks.
Yep. We also want to thank the ESC of Northeast Ohio for donating 3,500 face masks, and also want to thank Bill Jacobs Power Company for their donation of 8 gallons of System 3 disinfectant cleaner to the school district. Item 7I is to approve the student activity programs for the 2020-21 school year, and these are for student council and so forth, and we have approximately half of them on this agenda. The other half will be on the December agenda coming up. Item 7J is to approve then and now certificates for 2 invoices that we have for personnel costs for the ESC of Northeast Ohio. So if we remember at our November 4th board meeting, we approved the giant approximate $1 million ESC agreement. We have invoices dated August 1st, I believe, August 19th, and November 1st. So in order to pay, we have to have a purchase order dated before the invoice. However, in this situation, we have the invoice dated before the purchase order. So in order to pay, legally, we have to have what this then and now certificate does. So by the Board of Education approving the then and now certificate, we can effectively pay those invoices that we have on this agreement. The then and now line is $3,000. So anything over $3,000 has to go to the Board of Education for approval. Anything under $3,000, Treasurer can authorize. Item 8A is to authorize the treasurer to complete the client application and the proposal for Delta Dental. Again, this is for the switch district-wide of our dental plan going from Medical Mutual of Ohio to Delta Dental, and we talked about this at the previous board meeting that we had. Item 8B is to authorize the treasurer to complete and submit the client application with VSP. This is for the district-wide switch of vision from Medical Mutual of Ohio to VSP. Item 8C is to authorize the treasurer to notify Medical Mutual of Ohio that we are ending the dental plan and vision plan with them effective January 1st, 2021. Item 8D is to approve a renewal agreement with our current provider for electricity service, and this is a price decrease. Item 8E is to approve and re-execute the C-Power agreement. We initially approved this agreement April 22nd, 2020, but there was ineffectiveness by C-Power to initially put us in the plan, and that email is attached in the public content that we have there. So what we're doing right now is re-executing this agreement to get us back into that plan. And I imagine other schools are in the same boat as us that didn't get into it the first time. F and G are hardship distribution amendments to our current plan. There's no significant change that we have with those, but it just complies in a good faith effort for our plan to conform to the changes per the IRS. There's no significant changes that we have with those that we have.
At this point, I'd like to vote on the consent agenda for the treasurer. Mr. Muccio, can you place it to a vote, please?
Mr. Naaman,
Aye.
Mrs. Schuker,
Aye.
Mrs. Etter,
Aye.
Mr. Suchaki,
Aye.
Mr. Dobbins.
Aye.
Motion's carried 5-0. Please note that. Mr. Muccio, I think do you have any additional discussions or comments?
Yep, just two items for discussion. The first item is our alternative tax budget. So our alternative tax budget for fiscal year 2022 must be passed by the Board of Education on or before January 15th, 2021. And our tentative Board of Education approval is set for January 6th, 2021 at our organizational meeting. And then it must be filed with the County Budget Commission on or before January 20th. So if we go according to the January 6th board meeting that we have in place, we're perfectly going to meet that timeline that we have in place for us. What I'll do is I'll distribute at our December board meeting a draft copy of the budget in place. And I attached prior years as an example here for everyone to take a look at. And item 10B for discussion is I just want to discuss how our capital asset schedule is created and how it traces to our financial statements. We reviewed fiscal year 2019's capital asset schedule back in August 26th, 2020. So if we look at the attachments that we have in place, the first one would be the notes to the financial statements, and we just completed our financial statements recently for fiscal year 2020. We'll talk about those at the next upcoming meeting that we have. But if we look at that note, we can see the beginning balance column, the additions, deletions, and the ending balance column. And again, that's for land improvements, buildings and improvements, furniture and equipment, and vehicles. And if we open our capital asset schedule, these are the numbers that make up that note. So again, we have the Excel capital assets fiscal year 2020, and if we click on the tab next to it, our capital asset schedule, what that does is it traces all the numbers and how everything is compiled and found to go into our note disclosure for our financial statements for our capital assets. So again, everything is organized by category, so land improvements, building and improvements, furniture and equipment, and vehicles. So we have our comprehensive capital asset schedule in place, and again, this is how we take all of our capital assets, all of the depreciation expense and accumulated depreciation, and how it conforms and traces back to the note disclosure, which then in turn is a page within our financial report, our fiscal 20.
Mr. Muccio, I don't think that second attachment's working.
Yeah, I am having trouble with it as well.
Is it in Excel?
It's not opening in Excel.
It's like just a blank screen.
Yeah.
But it's okay. I mean,
Yep.
you could send it to us at a future date.
So it's opening on my screen.
Yeah.
I'm seeing Tom's.
It downloaded mine at the bottom of the screen, but maybe the Chromebook does it differently.
Yeah, I think it might be a Chromebook issue.
No worries.
But,
No worries at all.
I don't know, Dave, are you able to put it up on the big screen by chance? Just curious. Yeah, Dave will be able to.
Yeah, I did see it.
It's going to be, keep going down, Dave, 10B. 10B, yep. If we click on the second one, yep.
Lindy, Joe, and Gary, I just emailed you a copy, so.
Thank you.
No worries. I mean, it's.
Yeah, it's,
That's okay. I can even talk about it in the next board meeting too. And I'll work with Dave on getting this up and going. So that's all I have for tonight.
thank you, Mr. Muccio. Guess that moves us on to item number 11, superintendent's business. Mr. Evans?
Superintendent's business, staff resignations. Motion to accept the resignation of B.B. Mankhouse as an assistant halftime swim coach. Section 12, superintendent's business employment supplemental positions. A, motion to approve employment of the following pool lifeguards for 2020-21 school year on an as-needed basis per the adopted miscellaneous pay rate schedule contingent upon successful completion of BCI FBI fingerprint checks and proper certification of applicable. Brent Plasinski, Carter Murray, Gabriella Irvine, Xavier Irvine, Alyssa Thomas, and Stephanie Atwell. B, approve employment of the EMIS coordinator for 2021. Motion to approve employment of Kathy Dietzel as EMIS coordinator for the 2021 school year at the base rate of $40 per hour on an as-needed basis. C, okay. There we go. Motion to approve employment of John English as a wrestling scorer and statistician. D, motion to approve the change in contract for Veronica Bacci from assistant 50% coach to 100% assistant swim coach. Section 13, motion to approve the listed individuals as substitutes on an as-needed staff as stipulated positions for the 2021 school year per the adopted wage schedule contingent upon successful completion of the BCI FBI fingerprint checks and proper certification of applicable. 14, superintendent's business agreements, contracts, and membership. Motion to approve the 2020-21 Cog Heights School District Gifted Identification Service Plan per the attachment. B, adopt a memorandum of understanding between the Board of Education and Cog Heights Association of Teachers regarding the dental plan. The dental plan with Medical Mutual expires 1/1/21, and the dental plan with Delta Medical is effective 1/1/21. C, adopt a memorandum of understanding between the Cog Heights Board of Education and the Support Employees Chase regarding the vision plan. The vision plan with Medical Mutual of Ohio expires 1/1/21, and the vision plan with VSP is effective 1/1/21. And C, adopt a memorandum of understanding between the Cog Heights Board of Education and the Cog Heights School employees regarding the vision plan. Vision plan with Medical Mutual 1/1/21 and VSP is 1/1/21. And why does it feel like I did one twice there? Adopt a memorandum of understanding. D is the memorandum of understanding with Chase regarding the dental plan. Medical Mutual of Ohio expires 1/1, and Delta Dental goes into effect 1/1/21. And memorandum of understanding with the vision plan for Chase. Again, Medical Mutual expires 1/1/21, VSP effective 1/1/21. And F, a motion to approve the attached agreement with Spins Bowl for the use of the facility for the bowling team for the 2021 season. I ask that those items be approved.
I will make a motion to approve the superintendent's consent agenda. May I have a second, please? I'll second it. Okay, Mr. Shahaki seconds the, and I'm actually a first as well. I made the motion. That can be noted, please. Any discussion?
You saw the update in the change, obviously, with the swim coaches. BB can't do it, so Veronica's going to step in full-time. Lifeguards that we will add, and again, that's all contingent on being able to get the pool open based on what COVID lets us do. EMIS coordinator, Kathy Dietzel served as our EMIS coordinator for many, many years. She does that on time outside of her regular work hours. Very important task for us because that's all of our state reporting. John English, wrestling scorer and stat. John's kind of been a volunteer the last 2 years. This will be the first time he'll step into a paid position for us. the substitute classified staff, and is the regular list. Approval of the gifted identification service plan. I don't know if there was any questions on that. This is, we had it on for a first reading. I know Mr. Young just got the results back for our gifted testing, and he's starting to sort through that right now. And then the 4 MOUs, because those agreements become part of our collective bargaining agreement, so we make those MOUs. But as Matt worked, my hat's off to Mr. Muccio for gathering that group and getting those people in there, and not only providing better plans for all of our employees, but at less money. So that was a double win for us. And the arrangement with Spins Bowls, hats off to Mr. Kelber. That was a lot of work, because sometimes bowling alleys aren't the easiest people to work with to get a contract with to have a bowling team. So I know he spent many hours back and forth over at Spins trying to figure that out, and Mr. Muccio with his help on that too. And those are my items that I have for approval.
Okay, Mr. Muccio, could you please put the superintendent's consent agenda to vote, please?
Mr. Naaman.
Naaman, can you speak a little more closely to the microphone, please?
Like I said, I guess, Mr. Muccio, can you actually put the superintendent's consent agenda to vote, please?
Mr. Naaman.
Aye.
Mr. Souchaki. Mrs. Etter.
Aye.
Mrs. Schukert.
Aye.
Mr. Dobbins.
Aye.
Motion is carried 5-0. Okay, moves on to any additional, actually, it goes to board business resolutions.
I got a few comments
Oh,
I want to
still
throw in there.
comments, sorry.
That's
Yes.
right. As they said, Aladdin's going to premiere on YouTube Friday night. Looking forward to that. We've discovered a crack in the swimming pool along the deck on the south end of the pool. So I'm in contact with GPD and get one of their engineers out to take a look at it. Mr. Zerbola said we're losing a little bit of water. We're not in danger of the pool collapsing at any point in time. We're still practicing in there, but it is of concern. And the reason it jumped out at us is we just repainted the entire pool. So as it was filled, and that crack kind of jumped out because everything got repainted this year. So they'll be in to take a look at that, and we'll have to determine how we need to move forward with that. Obviously, the today, the resolution from the County Board of Health recommending all the schools in the county, actually several counties, I think Hamilton County, Franklin County, anybody that's on remote or in person, they're recommending, or anybody that's in hybrid or in person, they're recommending to go remote. I met with Mr. Young, Mr. Jantovich, Mrs. Houchin, Mr. Burek, and we spent a couple hours working through some of that discussion and what that looks like for us moving forward as well. And one other thing I want to mention, I know that we took an executive session off. What we can do, depending on Mrs. Etter and Mr. Dobbins, when they're feeling it, we can do a separate special meeting just for that executive session. Because I know the last two times it's kind of run late, and I think maybe a more prudent plan might be just to maybe schedule a 6:30 or whatever special meeting where you can go into executive session and work through that process that you've already started through completion. So I'll just throw that out to the board. We can get that on the books as well. So those are the things that I have today. Any questions or?
Any questions by anyone? Mrs. Etter, Mr. Dobbins, any questions?
Mr. Naaman, I can't hear you well. Could you speak louder?
I'm just asking if there's any questions for the superintendent's comments.
Thank you.
Is there anything, did you say, I'm just saying for people that are listening.
Yes.
You know, with the county's recommendation today and waiting to see what, you know, the governor says tomorrow about color coding and all that fun stuff, you know, is there a thought in your mind as far as when a decision will be made?
Yeah, actually tomorrow, quite
Okay.
honestly, because any change that we make in our programming, I want to get, I've talked about not doing any quick changes to give parents enough notice, and this would probably be effective on November the 30th when we got back from Thanksgiving break, and we talked long and hard today about going into remote as the county's recommending at that point in time. So that's what the bulk of our plan was. We'll see if the governor has anything that would change our mind on that, but we have some work to do to move forward towards that. And we would most likely remain in remote at a minimum through the start of Christmas vacation and possibly coming out of the holiday break as well.
And thank you, I'm just there's so much information going through
Yeah.
minds that I feel like dates and whatever get jumbled, so just like having it stated clearly can let families
There's
know.
a lot of work to be done because we're looking at then restarting the off-site learning centers and some things that we had in place before. And also, we learned from the first remote session that we might want to tweak things and do things a little bit differently. So that was maybe part of the discussion today. But the principals are going to work some things out with some team leaders and department chairs to make sure that we get it right if we make the change. So that's kind of the direction we're headed right now.
I've heard a lot of positive things, about those off-site learning centers, so thank you to all of you guys that are part of that process. It's very unique for our district, or for any district, I should say, to be doing it and providing that support, so.
And I'm just really happy that we were able to do that, because I know some families were just getting back to work through this crisis, and again, with the curfew and some other things, it's gonna put some more families into rest. So if we can help our families out in some way, shape, or form, that's what the goal is.
Very good. Any additional questions from Mr. Evans? Okay, thank you, Mr. Evans. Moving on to the board business resolutions. Do we, it's going to present.
I'll talk about this a little, if it's okay. What you have is a motion to approve a resolution to support the Fair School Funding Plan legislation. This is the plan, this is the Cup-Patterson plan. I know Mr. Suchaki and I think maybe Mr. Dobbins, we drove over to Summit ESC well over a year ago to see the foundation of that. You've seen through some of the mailings, some more of that's come through. When we talked to Senator Dolan, he was not confident that it would get through in lame duck, and Senator Lerner, who's also Republican, but a chair of the education chair, has resubmitted, and they're very confident that they can get a plan through. Now, and this is just a resolution that our district supports, that would go specifically to OSBA, would go to Representatives Robinson and Crossman and Senator Dolan, and you saw the emails that I sent out to those people as well, asking them to, on the Ed Choice vouchers, but this would be similar to say, please support this fair school funding. There's two major steps to this. First of all, the funding plan, and this is the first funding plan that actually has a plan, that there's a foundation, and to figure out what they did to what it takes to educate a student in the state of Ohio, and then they have some other add-ons for transportation and special needs and high poverty areas and some different things that would make that look a little bit different. As I said, that's the first part of it. The second part is how do you fund it? Because this would obviously be some drastic changes to funding in Ohio. They don't know how that's going to be. They know that the phase-in will take approximately 6 years, but this is in response to the DeRolf case that on 3 times the state Supreme Court said school funding in Ohio is not legal, and so this would bring it in line. This would finally put DeRolf to bed, from my understanding. So.
Okay. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution in support of the Fair School Funding Plan legislation. May I have a second from anyone, please?
Second.
Mr. Schukert seconds. So, Mr. Muccio, could you put it to vote, please?
Mr. Naaman.
Aye.
Mrs. Schukert.
Aye.
Mrs. Etter.
Aye.
Mr. Suchaki. Mr. Dobbins.
Aye.
Motion is carried 5-0. That moves us on to item 18, which is the board policy review and adoption. I guess I'll turn it over to either Mr. Evans or Mr. Young, I guess either way.
Yeah, I'm just going to go through them unless there's any questions. We've got policies to review. Just A is summary of policies for review for 1118 for the second reading and adoption. B, policy 6107, authorization to accept and distribute electronic records and the use of electronic signatures. That's a revised policy. Policy number 6152, student fees, fines, and charges. Again, that's a revised policy. Policy number 615201, waiver of student fees for instructional materials. That's a revised policy as well. Policy 6325, volume 39, number 1, August 220, revised procurement, federal grants and funds. That's new to us. It was right, we did not have that as a policy. We're adding that, but Neil also updated at the same time. Policy 2270, volume 39, number 1, August 220, revised religion in the curriculum. Again, we did not previously have that. This is revised in a new policy for ours as well. And policy 8800, religious patriotic ceremonies and observances, that's revised, and those are all second readings and adoptions. Those were previously presented in the work session.
Okay. Well, I will seek a motion to approve the board's business consent agenda. Can I get a first and a second, please? Okay, thank you.
Second it.
Okay. It was moved by Mr. Shockey and seconded by Mrs. Schukert. So let's, I guess, put it to vote.
Mr. Suchaki?
Aye.
Mrs. Schukert?
Aye.
Mrs. Etter?
Aye.
Mr. Naaman?
Aye.
Mr. Dobbins?
Aye.
That's, motion is carried 5-0. That brings us to board committee discussions and comments. I don't know if anyone would like to talk about any comments or discussions today?
Just one, well, I'll probably think of something else, but I just want to state that I think I'm recommending that, you know, if students are going remote, like after the Thanksgiving break, that our board meetings also be remote, just for the safety of others. I know we don't get a huge crowd in here, but that would just be my suggestion, so.
We discussed earlier that we would mirror whatever if we were in session, that we felt that we needed to be in session, but if we're remote, then understand, unless new legislation comes, we can only be remote through December. I got to believe that one of the 197 expires in December. I know that there's legislation to extend that, so if that happens, then we can continue that way, so.
Awesome. And I'm excited how we're using that CARES funding grant. I think that that's really an awesome way to use that money. So thank you. And that's it. I just hope everybody has a good holiday and stays safe and is smart about being safe.
Thank you.
I have a few things. I sent each of you, shortly before the meeting started, so you probably haven't seen it, an email with the Cuyahoga Valley Career Center strategic plan attached. You will note when you go through that, there are some areas where the bars did not continue to go up, but they kind of went back down a little bit, and most of those are due to the pandemic, okay? There are various reasons for them. If anybody is interested, I have notes and we can go over them individually or bring it up at the next meeting. We can talk about it if you feel you'd like to review that. But so I've sent that to each of you. And this is a 5-year plan, and this is year 3 of that plan. While I'm talking about the Career Center, we also got an email, and it's appropriate to what we just briefly discussed here about going remote. We received an email from the superintendent this week that this will be our most trying week of the year pertaining to COVID-19. As of Monday morning, the CVCC had 4 staff members quarantined. 2 are based on college-age students who came home with a positive reading, and 2 are based on a local school district outbreak. Last week, we also saw the highest number of students, both positive and quarantined. However, we still see no indication of internal spread within CVCC. So all of these are coming from the outside, which moves right into what we talked about going remote here. It's not that we're worried about the schools, it's we're worried about what people bring into the schools. Because I think that these schools are probably doing very well. I've seen notes in the New York Times where they're chiding the U.S. for closing the schools and leaving open the restaurants and bars, where in Europe they flipped that. But until we can get that community spread under control, I strongly support the administration's direction. It's not what we want to do, but it's what we need to do to keep safe the way things are going here in the U.S. I don't think we have any choice. So glad to hear that your conversation this evening, Mr. Evans. The other comment I want to make is that I went to the BEST committee meeting last week. I want to thank all of the administrators who were there and gave presentations. We had a number of parents, of course. We had a staff retiree person as part of the BEST committee. I think it was an excellent session. Mr. Muccio did a nice job of adapting his presentation, a 1-hour presentation, to the 17 minutes that they actually gave him, if it was that much. Because lots of people had comments, but you did very well. You finished on time. Thank you. And I thought it was a good meeting. It was nice to get together again, and I'm still very impressed with the BEST committee. I've had the opportunity to be at the very first meeting, and I'm glad to be part of that again. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Much. Mrs. Etter, Mr. Dobbins, any comments?
I would just like to say congratulations to our students of the month. Again, we found a way to catch them being good, and want to recognize them for being model students. Congratulations to Darren Tillett for his cross-country performance and representing us at state. A big thank you, and I'm glad that we are recognizing both Dave Wallace and Matt Hartman for our IT department. These are challenging times, and they have met all the challenges and helped us keep our education going at Cuyahoga Heights through our hybrid learning. I'm really excited about the grant that we're getting from Cuyahoga County, and I hope that that'll go some way to help our students and their families. And good luck with what we have to do coming up with the hybrid learning. Undoubtedly, it's coming. And thank you again for putting in the support for the Fair School funding plan. I thought that was great. And I just want to say to everybody, just stay safe and stay well.
Mr. Dobbins, any
So
comments?
I didn't hear Mr. Souchaki's comments real well, and I hope I'm not going to be restating them, but I did attend last week's BEST committee meeting, and I thought all of the presentations were spot on and very informative, and anyone who was able to attend that in person, I think, walked away with a great deal of information about the good things that are happening in our school and the hard work and dedication and commitment that our administrators and staff and everyone in all the buildings is putting forth to ensure our kids get a good education, an excellent education. So with that, I thank everyone. I want to share Ms. Etter's comments about Mr. Hartman and Mr. Wallace. Congratulations, and thank you very much for the work that you've done and will do. And also, I wanted to thank Mr. Muccio for his work on the capital improvement plan. I think it's one of those items that needed some work, and based upon my review of the work that he put out on the agenda today, I thought it was an exceptional piece of work, and it now seems to have a nice structure and much needed logic and organization. So thank you to one and all. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Dobbins. My comments are, basically, I just wanted to thank again and congratulate all the students of the month and their families for being here.
Mr. Naaman, could you speak louder, please?
Basically, to congratulate the students of the month, I would like to also congratulate Darren Tillett again for his achievements in becoming Ohio from a cross-country, as a cross-country runner. And also, Mr. Wallace and Mr. Hartman for everything that you do around the technology and keeping us up and running, especially in these remote times. Spectacular job, so thank you again. The other thing I just wanted to recognize, like everyone else has done, too, the way that we're spending the grant money from the Cuyahoga County Board of Health for the CARES funding, outstanding. I mean, that is a great use of the money, and couldn't be more happy about that. Also wanted to recognize all the people that put in time to put the musical together. I know that was recognized this week at the Valley View and also put online too as well. So a lot of hard work put on by our music department. And again, congratulations to all of them as well. Just want to wish everyone here and basically all of the whole district, a happy Thanksgiving. Please be safe and healthy, so that we can, continue, learning moving forward in the way that it traditionally should be. So that is all I have. So, moving on to that, next is item 21, which is future agenda items. I will ask any of the board members if they have any items for inclusion on future agenda items. I guess hearing none, I guess I will move on to section 22, which is informational items. And it should be noted that the Board of Education members receive their agendas several days prior to the actual meeting. Thus, they have considerable opportunity to study it and ask questions. Item 23 is adjournment. So may I have a motion to adjourn today's meeting?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Schukert. Seconded. Seconded by Mr. Shahaki. If you could put that to a vote, Mr. Muccio, please.
Mrs. Schukert.
Aye.
Mr. Souchaki. Aye. Mrs. Etter.
Aye.
Mr. Naaman.
Aye.
Mr. Dobbins.
Aye.
Motion's carried 5-0, and we consider this meeting now adjourned. Thank you, everybody. It is 8:12 right now. Thank you.
Good job, Mr. Naaman.